reading. You happy? Even if you're not happy, let's everyone together say yes, all right?
Yes!
Yes.
All right. There's 30 of you. Something to stick together this weekend. It's going to be very hard because we're not going to do integration. We're not going to look at ourselves that much. Right? Ah, darn. During this weekend, you knew it was about Atma Yoga. They told you. So there will be Atma and there will be Yoga, as amongst other things. We will speak of the soul. There will be philosophy and there will be practice. If you're a philosophy enthusiast, you'll have to bear with the practice period. And if you're a practice enthusiast, you'll have to bear with the philosophy part. Atma in Sanskrit means soul or the true self, depending on the context. We learned a lot of things about what is the soul in the past. We learned that a soul is this and that, and we learned tons of stuff in the intellect, in the mind. What is the soul? And still, this intellectual understanding does not awaken the experience of the soul. It does not make us aware what the soul is. So what we aim this weekend is to do studies and practice that will stimulate an experience to make us aware of the soul. And we can become aware of the soul by contrast. We will identify what is human and eventually maybe attempt to identify what is divine. And in between there's a soul. In between the human experience and the divine experience, there's the soul, true self. Okay? For that, we will not require tons of integration. But if something throws itself at you, look at it, breathe and feel it. If an emotion arises, feel it. But the aim of this weekend is not to dig up old crap like we sometimes do in the more self-therapy seminars. Okay? This one is about experiencing soul. Okay? I will add to this introduction, considering there are Christian, Buddhist, and Hindu enthusiasts in this crowd, we will have some dictionary issues of how the Christian named something, how the Hindu named something, and how the Buddhist screwed everything up, so we believe everything is illusion, when it's not the case. So let me start with a little comment by the Buddha, who scolded his priests, who kept all their practice dwelling on everything is illusion, on the absence of the self, where nothing is permanent. And he told them, that was a teaching I gave you while you needed it, because you dwelt on things that were illusions. So I need to teach you about those. But, hi Matt.
Hello.
But, I like the distractions like this. Just to. The Buddha explained, now if you really want to find the true sense of what you are, you need to dwell on what is permanent and eternal, on what is real and pure, which is yourself. And this can be seen in various ways in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, a sutra that is very rarely read by Buddhists. The Buddhists, they just love everything is illusion and there's no God. While in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, The Buddha explained, you talked to God and you spoke to the divinities of Brahma and Vishnu and Maheshwar, and you addressed them like real people, and you asked for favors in exchange for sacrifices and stuff. I mean, you did business transactions with God, offering something, hoping to get something in exchange, like the economy of spirituality. And the Buddha taught you have to stop all that, okay? The God that you conceive, the God that you pray, it does not exist. And people say, oh, God does not exist. No, he said the God that you pray does not exist. The one that you have defined, the one that looks like a statue on the altar, this God is an image, is not the true essence of thing. It inspires us, the higher states of being. It inspires us, it's cool, it's useful. But it's not divinity is not something foreign. It's not something far away that is inaccessible. Okay? And then the Buddha went to explain if a baby is sick, or the milk of the mother is sick, or both of them are sick, while for the newborn baby the milk of the mother is God, it's this divine essence, but it makes him sick because of an inability of the body to adapt to the milk of the mother. Okay? It's like the sickness of a mind to a false image of God. So the Buddha went on to explain that the doctor, the healer, will put some kind of goo that tastes very bad on the nipples of the mother, so the baby cannot go and take the milk, saying, do not take this milk. This milk is bad for you. While the medicine given to the baby and the medicine given to the mother walks their way for 24 hours or something. But during that time, the baby said, there is no God. There is no milk. And that's the aim of the Buddhist teaching of there is no God. In the sense that there is not the God that you take that makes you sick. The God that you pray and hope to be saved. The God that you pray and hope to have services rendered if the transaction is correspondent to the amount at the end of the invoice. Okay? Business of spirituality. But then the milk of the mother got better and the baby's system got stronger, and now the doctor will wipe off the bad taste around the nipples, and he will tell the baby, yes, try to give it. But the baby is hesitating because for the last few attempts that God was not very fun. It wasn't cool. It tasted like crap. It didn't want me to go back to God because of this teaching on don't go to the God that makes you sick. And that is what Sakyamuni Buddha explains in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. That once the mind is healed of the misconception of divinity, you have to go back and contemplate what is pure, eternal, blissful as the self. And in this same sutra, the Buddha would address Brahma. Talking to Brahma like if he would be talking to a person, like we do talking to God. He would invoke the name of Maheshwar, which is Shiva, the Hindu god Shiva. Maheshwar, that's the other name. Okay? The Buddha does not hesitate to address what is divine, but never in a way that would make us believe that there's actually someone to hold a conversation with, and then make God an ego. Okay? So Atma Yoga, breathe. Atma Yoga is an experience of wisdom that does not want to deny anything but wants to reinforce there is a reality. There is a self. There is something that can be in relationship with divine and in relationship with creation of divine, which is the manifested world. Now we're going to take the Christian point of view and the New Ager point of view. It's a new religion, the New Ager. They say that they're part of another religion, but they're actually New Agers. Okay? Lots of crystal on them. plastic-based incense and perfumes. This rock will heal me. Oh, I didn't know physical matter had so much power over my soul. A rock, let's little parenthesis here. Why does a rose quartz have this power to bring self-love? It's a physical substance. It cannot have any power on anything else than physical, and maybe because of its atomic radiation, a bit on the vital plane, just above. It's just that physically, its radiation will affect our hormonal system in a way that our peptides will readjust to encourage an attitude of acceptance. Okay? You'll become just less bitchy with yourself. Okay? If you don't work on yourself, forget it. The rose quartz will not bring self-love. It has a small, yet measurable impact on the body. And because of its hormonal influence, like if you take pills and stuff, you know, some people are depressed. What they do to stop being depressed is put stuff in their body. And it changes their hormonal system. They don't feel the depression anymore. There's two ways to go about that. There's two ways to address this depression. Either you provoke a stimulation that is way more stronger than your depression, so you go on drugs, you get high, you get drunk. You do stuff that will stimulate excitement artificially to provoke a sensation stronger than the depressed feeling, and then you kind of forget about depression for a while, but then come back. Or the other side, to use a physical approach, you numb yourself. You take other drugs that make you feel nothing. You gray yourself out. Nothing. Okay. It's another way of attaining no mind, but not through fixity and meditation, okay? Through pills. And in both cases, the overexcitement or the killing of the ability to feel, in both cases using physical means to deal with a depression, will hinder you at some point, will not allow your soul to take over. Now, another way to deal with depression is to go seek what you need in the self, in the soul, and not use physical means. Now, I was talking about the little rocks. Does it mean we should not use little rocks to help us? No. Use everything that will be beneficial for you, that will not cause side effects. Using Prozac 5 times a day beyond the prescribed dose will hinder you, okay? As opposed to holding a rock in your hand or your pocket won't hinder you, okay? But remember that a rose quartz or a tiger eye or the type of stone has a very minor effect. It does have its effect, but it's nothing compared to the actual work on the self, okay? Now, when we go in spirituality, especially the Christians and New Agers, well, the Buddhists are experts at this, but let's say New Agers, they become bored with the material life. They become bored with, they go to the high spirituality and they say, life is boring, it has no sense, and we lose track of what's the goal of life, you know. And in spirituality, we flee. We use spirituality as a denial, as a way not to appreciate the creation. If you want to find the experience of oneness, you need, as a soul, as a self, to develop this taste of creation, like a wine lover would practice at developing his taste of wine. Okay? So you practice yourself at enjoying what is physically manifested from a spiritual viewpoint, and then life stops being boring. If you use spirituality to always find happiness in divinity, and then you look at the physical realm and you find it empty, you forgot who created that. If you want to find the experience of oneness with God, if you want to go into a state of divinity, You need to remember the feeling that divinity experienced when it created all things. When the Father created everything, He just enjoyed it so much. He did it out of an experience of great love. And if you can't get to the experience of great love for the manifested world, you will not experience oneness. Except very sporadically while you keep denying the material world, which is actually what God created. And you exist in that realm. You exist in this physical reality. This weekend we don't prospect for emotions to resolve. But we breathe the wisdom, and if something pops up, you look at it. We're going to try to stimulate our appreciation of manifestation. Our enjoyment of simply being there. Alright? So then it becomes so fun to advance spiritually. Because we love it when something breaks, or something goes wrong, or someone we love goes away. Because we receive the grace of God in that event. Okay? We enjoy everything. We also love it when something comes, when something is repaired, and when we're just appreciating what we have. Okay? That's the reason why I say that it's so wise for you to have brought some food for us to enjoy ourselves. Because we will do prasad, we'll do tons of little things that makes us happy. Happy. A contemplation of how wonderful life is. Now there will be a point where your ego will resist. You will think falsified thoughts such as, if there's no drama, life becomes boring. Did you ever think that? I mean, what happens if everything is always fun and happy? It might become boring. No, everything just becomes fun and happy. But our ego tries to prove to us we need our little dose of drama. Like a smoker who really wants to get off smoking, but he still needs a smoke. We're addicted, you know? Could life just be wonderfully happy? Big orange guy. Basically. I don't want it to become too cold. If it's a bit hot, I want it that way. Now, Concession, you have to show him how it works. And actually, Concession, you just became the new air conditioning guy. But I want Fred to know about it in case we need a substitute. So people, in my students, the more advanced students, especially the enlightened ones, that get to enlightenment and they enjoy everything 1 month after, they find life to be so empty. Because everything they believed in prior to their enlightenment has no more sense. And they say, Maha, I have a problem. That's weird. Life is boring. Well, that's because you spent your entire existence waiting for something out there to stimulate happiness inside. But now that you have your sense of self only from what you are, everything outside does not stimulate you anymore, and you're still waiting for it to stimulate you, but you got rid of that outside power over you because you got sense of self. When you get the sense of self, whatever could go wrong in your life does not make you sad anymore. And you're so happy about that. But then everything that used to make you happy also lost its power. You're freed from the outside. That's wonderful. But life is boring. No, you chose not to appreciate what you have. Now, in the self, when you enjoy yourself, it has to be because you want it. I love creation. You just decide it. You have to want it, or else it won't, because you became the only power in your life. Okay? You really want to get there, everyone, to the point where you just enjoy yourself because you enjoy yourself. Because you remember, as a part of the one consciousness, the Creator, You're in love with what you did. You're in love with what you manifested, what you created. Okay? Breathe. Is that inspiring?
Yes.
Okay? So why do I put so much emphasis in developing willpower? When actually spirituality is about letting go and not deciding anything anymore and just see what comes up. I'm training you in developing willpower so that when you are freed from outside stimulation, you will have the ability to impose on yourself states of being. You will have the will to just appreciate everything. And this is what we're going to do. Appreciate everything. But what part of us appreciates what? Give it good. No, good. She's like this with her Kleenex. She doesn't want to disturb anyone. I gave you a cue, it was time. Now, okay, your time's up. So
it will happen on its own.
It will come again, yeah. We have to enjoy ourselves. Now, it is still true that the God that you pray does not exist. If your God exists, it's not the real God. If it does not exist, then you pray the real one. Okay? It's a Zen thing. If your divinity has a very fixed definition of what it is, that's not God. And if you learn in your mind, oh, it's the consciousness everywhere, well, you're not really aware of that until you're aware of what is that consciousness everywhere. Okay? So we're going to stimulate that feeling. We're going to start with a little prayer. We're just going to do it 21 times. Okay? And those who don't know it, don't know it. Those who know it, you'll do it. Okay? And basically this prayer means the master is God the Creator. The master is the Christ. The master is the Holy Ghost. The master is the highest point of being in consciousness, Parabrahma. And to that real master, I bow. Okay? So it is the Guru Brahma. We'll say it in Sanskrit. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah.
Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah.
Breathe. Okay. Hello. The highest point in existence, Parabrahm, the highest point in the universe which is conscious, just out of vacuity of nothing, is a creator. So on step one, creator. El creador. For whoever looks at the universe with no philosophy in mind, he looks, there's something. So the second point is creation. La creación. If the observation of the world is there's something, it has to come from somewhere. You've got the created, or creation, and the creator. And this created, whatever it is, which the creator, however you define it, is in some kind of relationship. There's interaction. Okay, so we say 3, interaction. Just write interact. because we're going to have another word, and it's not the payment method, it's the fact that we interact. / transform. The concept of movement and change. Okay? So, in the philosophical contemplation, we can imagine stuff is going on. Not only is there something manifested, the everything manifested for Christian was called the Christ, okay, or the Son of God, the Father, which is the Creator. Everything created for the Hindu is Vishnu. For the Buddhists, we don't talk about it, but it's Mahastama Prapta, okay, as the teaching of the Buddha say, the all-empowered wisdom, okay, Mahastama Prapta. Okay, I'll have you sit for now. Now, the creator for the Hindu is Brahma, for the Christians it's the Father, for the Buddhists will say Amitabha Buddha, will say it is the white light which is infinite and conscious, from which everything came, and they will call his realm the Pure Land, what Christians have called heaven. So the Buddhist, the Hindu, and the Christian, and the Muslim, and I mean even the Egyptian at Osiris, Horus, and Isis, everyone has this idea of a creator, source of all things, which is a consciousness. All things manifested as a single thing. And that is interaction. There's something going on between the Father and the Christ, between Brahma and Vishnu. And it brings, this interaction brings transformation and collaboration and evolution. And we've got Shiva, we got the Holy Ghost, we got Yahweh, we got nature for the pagan. Okay? Isis for the Egyptian. Okay? So every philosophy has this observation that we call divinity. And they all agree on the same thing except the words they use to name it. For the words, they go to war. But for the true essence of the thing, it's all the same. Okay? Don't we love being right about everything? Being right about something, even when you are right, did it bring into your life more happiness or more suffering? I'd rather be a happy idiot smiling than be right about all the reasons to be depressed. So, but there's a way to be right about everything and enjoy everything and don't really give a shit and be happy anyway. Just don't argue. Okay, no integration, I said. Oh, you can look at yourself. It's cool to look at yourself. We're going to talk about these things, but the goal is to find a way to enjoy life. So instead of saying, oh, I really like to be right about everything that causes me suffering, let's not have this attitude of resolving problems this weekend. Let's have the attitude of okay, I'll try to be stupid and happy, or intelligent and happy, or I'll try not to care too much if I'm right or wrong. I'll just contemplate that life is cool, and go into this mindset of it's not really important to hold the truth, especially if you already have it. I mean, what's the problem? Why fight over it? If you want the experience as a soul to be one with everything, there is a requirement. It is to go in a mindset that allows divinity to think in your mind. And that means that your human has to stop thinking. That's not obvious. So this is the training of yoga this weekend, Atma Yoga. Okay? This is not the spine twisting yoga. Okay? It is the mind twisting yoga. right? Because you can't really twist your soul anyway. You can corrupt it, some people believe. No, you can only corrupt your mind. Some people say your soul, your consciousness is twisted and his soul is filled with blackness. No. Maybe someone's heart or mind can be filled with blackness, but the soul is a state of pure, true self. It is indestructible, cannot be affected or altered by anything else than the Creator, the created, and the interactive. Only God has an effect on your soul. Okay? So when some people talk about the soul being corrupted, it's a misunderstanding or a different set of dictionary words. They use the word soul actually to describe someone's mind, the psyche, when someone is completely screwed up in his mind with psychosis, schizophrenia, and hatred and stuff like that. And it doesn't mean that they're evil people. It means that they have a corrupted heart or mind. And it can be cleaned up. Everything can be fixed if you have the time and the budget. The budget here, we're not talking about financial resources. We're talking about energy resources, wisdom. Okay. So we took a bit of time to stimulate the soul, to give the soul what it wants. The soul wants to be in love with God. So we prayed. First step of Atma Yoga, prayer. No prayer, no nothing. Great guru told me a story once. A pharaoh had the power of immortality. That was before writing. It was a long time ago. And this pharaoh apparently, at least in the legends, lived 10,000 years because he had the power not to die. But after 1,000 years or so, he was asking to his priests, who look all joyful and happy, why do I look like a piece of crap that really aged 1,000 years? Why can I not have the youth that other mortals have? And they say, that's because you're Pharaoh and you don't pray God. So what's the solution? Go in the desert alone, where no one can admire you and no one can give you prestige, and go pray Osiris for his grace, because your soul is empty. And he had every one of his priests killed. And after another while, seeing that nothing had changed, asked his new generation of priests what they had discovered through their contemplation that brought them so much happiness. And they answered exactly the same thing. And the Pharaoh said, I am God. I am Pharaoh, the only God of Egypt. How would I bow to Osiris? He should be bowing to me. But since they replied exactly the same thing, he did not have them killed. Maybe tortured a bit. And after a great while of contemplation, he discovered that actually he had extreme amount of power, but he was so empty and sad. And he says, I want to become young again. I want youth again. And if the solution is to go bow to God and acknowledge that the true undefined divinity is greater than what I am as God, as the Pharaoh, well, I'll give it a try. So he went alone in the desert in rags and started to pray until he was struck by the experience of love, which he had missed for almost 10,000 years. And in this great experience, instead of using that power to rejuvenate, he simply allowed the body to die. He wanted to go back to God. Okay? It's a legend. With written proofs in the Egyptian history, but it's a legend. I mean, you have to be objective about this stuff. We don't see it, we're not sure. But it's inspiring nonetheless. This is why I still say the story. If you never address yourself to something beyond your human, you will stay just a human. And when you grow old, you will find yourself to be empty, twisted. And I'll use a wisdom I gained yesterday. You'll have this face of panic. You'll be roaming around. Oh my God, what have I done with my life? Some people are just like happy, smiling. Look at her. She's like 1,000 years old or something. She's all smiling and beautiful. What are you, 70, 80?
71.
71, okay. You see, she's happy. She's radiant. And you go to places where you put the old guys, the geezertoriums. I don't know, how do you call this?
Rest home.
Yeah, all right. And especially the ladies, maybe have a sense of depression. Not really satisfied me anymore. And you have some old guys like, and whatever emotion they developed in their life just projects there. But you're already doing that. You're already projecting on your face, on your body, the way that you address life. Okay? So if for purely aesthetic reasons you want to do Atma Yoga, it's still a wise thing. Okay? Find the motivation where, Olay didn't work, use God. Okay? You understand what I mean? You will end up becoming and looking like what you have praised. Well, except in the last few years where nature shows you there's a power in transformation, which is the last aspect of transformation, which is destruction. You have to accept that. Okay, it's part of nature. Okay. Breathe and relax.